On February 2nd, 2014, Duke Energy's Dan River Power Plant in Eden, North Carolina had a major breach in its coal ash pond, spilling an estimated 39,000 tons of toxic coal ash into nearby Dan River. This spill would be recorded as the nation's third largest coal ash spill. As a result, Duke Energy was mandated to remove its coal ash from nearby lakes and rivers at its other coal-fired power plants in North Carolina. Duke Energy currently proposes to move millions of its toxic tons of coal ash and dump it on North Carolina communities in landfills, old mines, and clay pits. Many North Carolina residents oppose this toxic dumping on their community because it endangers health, pollutes water and air, and drastically decreases property values. On June 18, 2015, Blue Ridge Environmental Defense League held a coal ash forum in Sanford, North Carolina that brought Chatham and Lee County residents and its local Brettle chapters together to empower them to fight Duke Energy's plan to dump millions of tons of Duke's dangerous and toxic coal ash in their communities. Many in attendance, including the panelists, voiced their concerns. Activists from Uniontown, Alabama, who experienced the nation's worst coal ash spill, shared their compelling experience of coal ash being dumped in their communities. On this episode of the League Spotlight, you will experience the inspiring and informative highlights from this coal ash forum.
I've been reading the newspaper. I've been following the coal ash problems from the very beginning, and I am just so afraid. It's the uncertainty that's bothering me. It's not just we don't know what the end's going to be. We can only pray about it and just let everybody know that we are aware that Duke Power does not have our best interests at heart. Big business is not our friend. Duke Power is never going to look to help the little man when they tell you that, don't worry about what we're doing. You don't have to be concerned. We're policing ourselves. Big business will never police itself. Understand? We can look at the past behavior that we're getting from Duke Power, and we will know what we can expect in the future. They are not going to change. The only thing we can do is try to be prepared, try to be educated, have a willingness of spirit. If there's something you can do, please do. If there's nothing else you can do but cheerlead, please do. Whatever you can bring to the table. I've always said, try to be the best you can be.
My name is John Cross. I live in Moncure. I have lived there for the last 71 years. We do not need this coal ash here in Sanford nor Chatham County. It's all got several different kind of chemicals in it, and they're saying that this liner will protect it. But we have a ship down there at the coast, Wilmington, that's been down there, and just the plain salt water have eaten a hole through the hull. And so just imagine what this stuff would do to this liner. They have been sued, but it don't bother them because all they have to do is increase your light bill a little bit and they'll cover that right there. So it don't bother them.
They may be bullying your local officials. They may think that just because they made the decisions that they made, that we're not going to stand up to them. But we are. I got news for them. We are. And these communities, this is amazing. Chatham and Lee County coming together on a common issue. Lee County's not saying, put it over there in Chatham County. Chatham County's not saying, put it over there in Lee County. They are standing together, which is the moral high ground. They are working together. The two chapters, Environmental Lee and Chatham Citizens Against Coal Ash Dump, spoken to you about. We know that on May the 4th, Chara's subsidiary, Green Meadow, filed a reservation for their name this was 2014, with the Secretary of State. On May the 14th, they filed their articles of incorporation. On May the 14th, the Coal Ash Management Act was introduced. Didn't have anything about mines or open pits in it with the first edition. But by the end of the day, on May the 15th, by the third version, it had mines and pits in it. So who wrote that bill? You know, we can blame politicians, but they were pushed by who? They were pushed by Duke Energy. They already knew, they were already looking here.
I've been NC Warren's attorney now for 7 years. I've been representing Brettel and Brettel chapters for probably 25 years on landfills and one mess after another. And I'm telling you, it's not a done deal. It's not a done deal. And there are opportunities for legal appeals and legal action and all that kind of stuff, but don't rely on that. I mean, you say, oh, let the lawyers take care of it. Well, that won't get you anywhere. What you have to do, that's a tool, that's a tactic, but being in there in solidarity. I'll tell you the easiest arguments I ever make when I'm talking to a judge like this and everybody behind me is going, nodding and shaking their heads. And we got to do that every time, just nod and shake our heads. So we're thinking of other legal kind of things that we can do, but I want you to know it's not a done deal.
That's right. That's right. And see, and I think it's good. I think people have a right to feel like they feel. They have a right to say what they feel. And they are worried and they're concerned and they're frightened. And I think that they have to be heard. I was contacted by a journalist this week who asked me what I knew about a particular issue in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I knew a little bit about it. And he pointed me to some of his articles and to a report. There's a facility that is an inactive hazardous waste site that is contaminating the groundwater, contaminating the surface water, contaminating the soil, and having vapors coming up off-site and into people's crawl spaces. Anybody that knows anything about all the dry cleaning messes, this is just like that, except it's huge. This community, they moved to school, they moved kids from schools that they were measuring some of these emissions in, but there are still people that live there. And the reporter asked me, he sounded very frustrated. He said, is Diener that toothless? Or don't they care? And I said, yes.
Yes, that's correct.
And so I went and looked, and what Diener did, Diener wrote a letter to the company and said, we are concerned that because the concentrations of this blah, 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 TCE, PCE, are increasing in these groundwater monitoring wells at the edge of your property and could be going off-site. So the next time you update your remediation plan, please describe what you're going to do to address this. They didn't say, go do this right now, go do it, nothing. It was 3 months before they updated their plan. So the city of Winston-Salem, the city of Winston-Salem actually did their own tests, and their tests showed more contamination than the company's tests that Diener was accepting. So that city's they're having to take care of themselves. That's where we are. And so it's very frustrating for me in my work, because we've all been trained and conditioned to think that the government's going to come in and the cavalry's coming and, whatever. But we got to do the work. And so there's some of them have the grace to be ashamed of themselves, but they don't have the funds, they don't have the staff, they don't have the political will to do what has to be done. And George can speak to that.
I'm almost embarrassed to say I've been here for 33 years. And I tried to do a good job, but the reason I'm where I am now is because Diener does not have the capability of adequately protecting the citizens of North Carolina. They don't have the funds. Their budgets are constantly being cut. Right now, they're looking to split off a lot more of Diener and change it into something completely different. The one thing you have to understand about Diener, too, is that they answer to politicians. And we know how politicians operate. And it's a sad state of affairs, but that's the way it is. The way that we counter that collectively is make sure that we get more people involved in knowing what's really going on and mobilize those people.
My name's Adam from Alabama, and I'm here out of love and compassion, like my sister Esther. We've been dealing with coal ash, and we're here to stand in solidarity with you and support you. Coal ash is not good for anyone, and it doesn't belong in any community. I'm here to say, one, is that the federal government and the EPA, our Environmental Protection Agency, has failed the people. Our federal government has known coal ash is toxic and contains toxic elements since its creation. And our federal government let us down when the EPA did not designate what we know as hazardous to be a hazardous waste. They failed us. They failed us. And we can't sit around and let the government and wait for the government to come and try to protect us. They're not going to. It's time that we stand up and protect ourselves. And we do that out of love and compassion and nonviolence. So in December of 2008, the nation's largest coal ash spill occurred up in eastern Tennessee. And it was right before Christmas and a little bit right after New Year's. And during that time, commissioners from Perry County went up to the site and said that they would love to bring it down to their community. That was in 2009, 2010. And let me back up a little bit. And this landfill had heated opposition from the very beginning. It wasn't built in 2009 and 2010 to receive the coal ash. It was built a couple years before that. And there was extreme opposition. In this area, there could have been within 2 miles of the landfill close to, maybe 1,500 people who lived there. Predominantly 80 to 90% black and under the poverty line. Our state of Alabama knows who lives there and they know what's going on there. We've had issues from this landfill from the very beginning. And when the coal ash started coming in 2009 and 2010, there was extreme issues with mismanagement. The dust was everywhere. They were unloading the carts and literally washing out the rail cars with hoses, and it was going into the local streams and neighboring property. They were literally going down the road with these big trucks and the dust coming off, and it was just covering everybody's homes and houses. You could literally go out and take a swipe, and your finger would come up very dark color, and you could go and do it again and again and again and again. People were literally going out there and washing it off their houses and their cars. And you had, like Miss Esther said, you had houses where people could literally throw a rock over and hit this big place. And a lot of opposition, a lot of legal battles, having to use legal battles to just get them to stop the dust release, which they should have been doing by law anyways. A lot of legal issues of just trying to get them to address the water contamination issues. And so what we discovered is that there was runoff issues from the very beginning. In a flat place like Perry County, when you put a mountain of ash up several hundred feet, the land's not used to that, and so when it would rain on top of it, it just run right off on the neighbor property. And so from the very beginning of the ash coming in, we had severe issues with water contamination. Around 2011, 2012, we started getting some calls from the community members about health impacts from the dust, from the water. If y'all are having problems with Diener, our little brother in Alabama, the ADEM is what we call them, the Alabama Department of Environmental Management, they are practicing discriminatory practices across the board. And so in 2011 and 2012, when they renewed and modified the landfill's permit to accept more garbage from 33 states, we filed a civil rights complaint against our state agency for discrimination. And so right now we're being represented by a national organization who works on civil rights for a civil rights complaint that our state is discriminating against our rights for permitting these type of issues. And we know that our state has been discriminating against our people since its beginning. And they're not stopping, all right? Leachate is a science word. It's an engineering term. It refers to the collection of wastewater underground that works with landfills and storage sites. And so what happens is most things are composed of water. You know how gravity works. And so at the very bottom of these liners, and the water collects when it rains, when things decompose, when things break down. Leachate is a severe problem. And so so the leachate collection system at Arrowhead has been a severe problem from the very beginning. Millions of tons. Think about the weight of that. Millions of tons of chemical elements that contain water molecules. That's going to bring a lot of water. The leachate system has been causing problems since the very beginning. The first issue, they started pumping it to another very poor, impoverished community. It was overloading the city's wastewater treatment system and almost completely broke it. So they moved it to another community. And it's doing the same thing there. The community had to now apply for federal grant money to fix their system. And in their comments, it was heavy industrial overload. That industrial overload is coming from the leachate collection system that contains crazy amounts of toxins and elements that corrode things and break down pipes. And the leachate can be a problem. And going back to Arrowhead, our liner was compromised from the very beginning. When they go in and build these type of systems, they try to put liners in. They have equipment and bulldozers and things that run over, and we really felt like our liner was compromised from the very beginning, that it could have been punctured and things could have happened from the very beginning. The Environmental Protection Agency even says that all liners will eventually leak. All liners will eventually leak. There's no such thing as, in my opinion, as safe disposal. But I'm not a state government certified engineer who comes and puts their stamps on these things and then says, trust me, I'm not a crook. And so
But Duke says they won't leak.
all liners will eventually leak. Leachate systems are a problem. They will be taken to probably one of your local wastewater treatment plants. And they don't have a way to get rid of these heavy metals either. They just put them into the system, cross their fingers, hope that you're not doing any testing, and send it on down. And sometimes in the middle of the night, they'll do a routine maintenance operation and just pump a bunch of it in the water and hope that nobody's paying attention. Y'all know these things are happening. Diener and Duke have been doing these things, and they're going to continue to do them unless people really start paying attention. And people not only are paying attention, but they're making documentation. They're following up. They're contacting media. They're getting media. And so thank y'all for the media for being here. This is not something that should be dividing communities. This is something that should be bringing communities together. And so I'm glad to see that. And so the leachate is a severe problem. We need the freedom from fossil fuels producing electricity. We need the freedom from coal ash, but it's going to take a long time, and it's got to start somewhere. So what we're starting to talk about in Perry County, because our commissioners are already saying they want more coal ash, is that we've got to set an example. If they're not going to do it for us, we got to set an example first. And what does that got to mean? Is that we got to work with organizations who can get some funding so that we can get some solar panels on our houses so that we don't have to use Duke Energy or the other utilities, and we can produce it ourselves. We can harvest this energy ourselves. We don't have to depend upon Duke Energy. I'm not saying don't pay your power bill, but that would be powerful if everybody in these counties stop paying the power bill and stop paying Duke Energy. Hey, I'm here out of love. I love y'all. Have a good night.
I tell you, Sanford, well, I am very impressed that there are quite as many of you that are here today, black and white. This fight is not just about you, it's about all of y'all. You don't want it. I'm telling you, you don't want it. Once they get that coal ash into your hometown, they're going to do everything. Who's going to do the testing? Are y'all going to trust them? First of all, I tell you, those that have wells and those that know people that have wells, do your testing before it comes. If I was you, I wouldn't let it come. It's enough for y'all to stop it. I'm going to tell you what we didn't do. We didn't really form like y'all got a chance to really try to stop it. Join hand in hand. Fight to your best. Fight like it's your last. Because once you get it here, they want to find out who's going to get cancer first. who gonna die first? But y'all have y'all freedom. I mean, right now we feel like we don't have our freedom. You can't have a garden, you can't have fruit, you can't hang your clothes out. So you got your freedom right now, but you put your life in the hands of these people. I'm telling you, do I got to preach? Y'all, but I'm telling y'all got a chance and I can feel it, but you got to do what you got to do. You can't trust these people. It's already poison already in the water. I mean, your property land, you know your property go down. We got that problem now. You can't sell your property. You can't use your well water. People's having boils. I mean, the problem is going to come. Why not fight it before it get here? Don't care what it takes. I learned how to do that. I mean, I had to literally learn. And once you step out, God steps right with you. He put peoples in your pathway. So keep coal ash out. You got a chance to have your freedom. I'm telling you, you don't want to be locked up in a house that smell is stinky. I couldn't even sit on the steps with my 70-some-year-old, the lady I was telling you about, Miss Della Dow that died. That stuff stinks. And I even went out there with ADM. Y'all talking about DEM? That's what it is. ADM, ours is ADM. They don't care. They fool you like they doing this. They don't do nothing. They don't monitor. They said they was going to put a fence around our landfill. Guess what? The people that sued, that was one of their promises, was a fence. A plain fence. They ain't even got that. So I'm telling you that they sending y'all out for a wild penny. So do what you got to do. And one thing, if you stick together, you can do this fight. This is real. And you don't want coal ash. You definitely don't want coal ash. Down in the area of the landfill, people have complained of boils on their arms in different places, their hair loss, asthma, fleas. They have complained of headaches. There are some people that has kidney problems. It just recently started. There are some people complaining of heart attacks. Has recently started. Just now recently started. And what else?
COPD, neuropathy.
Oh, I got neuropathy.
When your stress goes up, other ailments are more likely to result. When you don't have the ability to enjoy different things, other illnesses can come more quickly.
Headaches. But I have neuropathy and I'm not a diabetic. My doctor told me that I most likely I got lead in my body. And not only I do, on my same street. I live right by where the train came through. The train came through Uniontown, went down to the landfill. So I was like from here to that, might as well say that yellow piece right there. The train track is real close to where I stay at. And then, like I said, I have neuropathy and I have sleep apnea. So, you know, it's a lot of people, you go around and you talk, you say, what is neuropathy? How many people know what neuropathy is? Yes, nerve pain is burning sensation. See, it started off like I was having a stroke. First it started in my arms. This started like a year ago. Started in my arms and it started going numb. So I thought I was having a stroke. Then I went to take a bath. I put my, okay, this is my good leg. I put my no good, because I ain't have no feeling. My leg is burning up right now. So I put this leg in first, and the leg has feeling. So when I put this leg in there, it was real hot enough for me to burn myself. But I couldn't feel it in this leg. So right now, it's still having the same problem. It's burning like fire. So once you start feeling something that's burning, it just burns. It burns real hot. So I talked to the other ladies, they having the same problem down the street from me. So, you know, it's something that's going on. So, like I said, a lot of things people say, well, that's not coal ash, it's gonna happen to you anyways. But I talked to a lady said that she had kidney problems, and it came from that coal ash been down. I said, did you put it in your medical records? And she said, yeah, I told my doctor. So I'm just telling you, y'all know coal ash is hazardous. These folk that know it, that bring this, so ain't no need to ask the question what it is, how it is. It's poison, it's hazardous, and you don't want it.
For more information on coal ash and its dangers, go to bredl.org. That's BREDL.org.